Hi guys. So I have been playing Space Engineers and I recently discovered that there are programmable blocks in which you can do stuff with. And that is kind of like a red rag to a bull with me because I'm, kind of geeky. Well, nerdy and geeky. Okay, moving on. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create automated solar panels. And I was having a look around and I searched on a forum and I didn't find anything. And I also did a Google search and I got lots of information about the best way to sort of do solar panels. A lot of them were sort of like, rotate and then rotate. This is the way that I originally came up with, which was, sort of, I like the two arm system because it just means that it's all balanced and things like that. You don't have to worry about it. Anyway, so the solar panels currently don't have like a field in which you can just go, okay, how much power is coming out of them? And I was looking around, I was kind of thinking of all sorts of systems and realized that you can get the information out of getting the detailed info from them. So I've made a system whereby the solar panels will automatically always face within like about 5 kilowatts the best optimal position they can possibly be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire this up. So what I'm going to do is going to go down here and this check timer here, I'm going to trigger this timer. And what you'll see is that it turns in a direction. It goes, okay, is it getting better in that direction? No. Okay, we'll go back the other way. And then when it finds a sort of the optimal in the other direction, it'll stop. And then it'll tilt the arms and they'll start going in one direction. So as you can see, the main rotor, the base rotor is turning it and it's going to get to an optimal position in a second and it will stop, or roughly optimal. There it goes. Right, now the arms will start turning. Is it getting better? No. Okay, go back the other direction. And then they'll stop when they're at an optimal position. So just see that going on. And there we go. They should stop in a second. Whoop, there we go. Right, so now I'm just going to turn this off again because otherwise that'll keep going and I want to be able to go into the code. Okay, so this works on a couple of timers. So the way this all works is I'm going to take you into the code now to explain it. I'm going to point out straight away here, there's probably people who have done it way better. I'm sure they must have. It is fairly mediocre what I've done, but still, hopefully, if there's someone looking at how to do it, this might help you. Okay, I just need to remove a few little things I did for bug testing before I go into this. Okay, so starting off here is I've got a few variables. Now, the first one I've got is this decimal best output. The reason I chose decimal originally was because I wanted to have a percentage display when I was actually doing the testing. It really doesn't matter what you use. I just chose decimal and I've rounded it off in most of the times I've used it, just because if I do want to use it for anything else, if I want to adapt this code, that just makes it easier. And then I've got 6 balls. 6 booleans. Yeah, yeah, that sounded bad with my accent. Okay, and that was probably a very pervy laugh I just did there. Okay, so I've got 6 booleans, which are a type of variable. I just want to point that out. And these can basically be true or false. So they're just an on or an off, true or false, 1 or 0. So what I've got here is best base achieved, best arm achieved. Now this is when we've actually achieved the best places. It will set off what's going on. And then I've got I should really stop saying that, boolean, first arm run, base reversed, arm reversed, reverse pulls. Now these are all things that I use sort of checks to go through. The reason I've done this is because you could potentially go by this by checking the angle and getting a perfect angle. But what I've actually done here is basically start going one direction. Is the output getting better? No. Go back the other direction till the point the output stopped getting better. Then just stop at that point because that's a very close approximation. The arms don't move very fast. And then turn one set of arms, start in one direction. It stops when it gets to, okay, is it actually getting better? No. Okay, turn it back the other way till it gets better. So to start all this off, you have this void main string argument. Now this is at the start, this is the main function for the C#. Now I'm going to say here, this is done in C#. If you're not familiar with C#, I would say this is not necessarily using anything that's particularly hard, but if you're not familiar with C# or this kind of programming language, it will be frustrating to do anything other than copy paste. So just be aware of this, is that if you're looking at this and it's like, oh yeah, programmable blocks, but I don't know C#, just be aware you probably will get quite pissed off trying to do this. This here, I'm not going to try and explain every little thing in complete detail just because that'll take a while, but I do plan to do a tutorial later on and go through that. Okay, so what we do is start off defining a load of things that we're going to use. The first one is my solar panel, solar1, grid terminal system dot get block with name solar1 as my solar panel. So what we're doing there is we're saying, okay, we're going to create something, a block type called a solar panel, my solar panel. That is what the solar panel block is called. We're going to call it solar1. The grid terminal system dot get block with name, that's just a sort of the way we find something. And we're finding something with the name solar1. So if I go back to here and we've got solar1, its custom name is solar1. Okay, and then now we sort of define the next three things. We're defining the rotors that we're using. So we have motor stator, which is the rotor, the advanced rotor as well. Rotor base, that's what we're calling this one. Grid terminal system dot get block with name rotor base, that's what I've called it, as my rotor stator. This may be like a very complicated, convoluted way of doing this. To be honest, my C# is a little bit rusty, so yeah. And then we've got my motor stator arm1 get block with name arm1 as this, and we do that for arm2. So rotor base is the middle one, two arms are the end ones. Yes, so remember changes. I think I just pressed space somewhere. Oh, I hope I haven't balked it. Okay, so if we look here, that square block in the middle would be, that's where rotor 1 is. Actually, I'll rotate it a bit better. As you can see, there's the rotor there, and then you can see the rotor at the top and the bottom are the arm 1 and arm 2. Okay, so programmable block, edit. Okay, now the next line is a bit funky. What I've done on this is I want to get the detailed information for the solar panel because that has its current output. What I've done is I've taken a list with type strings, and I've passed all the information into that so that I can just pull out the amount of kilowatts that are coming out of it. So as you can see here, I've got list string solar info. So that's going to be the name of our list. And then the next line is new list for the strings solar1 dot get detailed info. So that just pulls out the detailed info for solar1, which we defined up here. Split. Now that is parsing it. If you don't know what split term is, in other language it'd be parsing it. It is parsing it. If you don't know what parsing is that would be, you take a sentence and then you split it up, defined by what you want to separate it, what you want included. So in this one here, so we're going to split it with new string. I've taken out \n and \r because that would be something you'd be used to make new terms, sort of like new line, etc., etc. And I've taken out \r. These are both used for that. They're both used for different things. I'm not sure which ones are in there, and to be honest, I was kind of like, I'll just get this done. This is just taking out everything. Now the other thing that is really important is to take out the spaces. I need to take out the spaces because I don't want it to come out as solar panel. It would be all one thing if I didn't have spaces, and then max output so and so kilowatts would all be one thing if I didn't have spaces. So what I want to put out is to be able to take out that number. And then we got string split options none. So what this will do is this will make a list where starting from 0, entry 0 will be solar, entry 1 will be panel, 2 max, 3 output, 4 number, which will be the number we want. So we're going to pull out the 4th entry, which is actually the 5th entry in this. Okay, And then we just define two timer blocks, which is check timer, find a thing called check timer, timer block, angle timer, find a one called angle timer. Okay, so that's just defining all the things we're going to use. The next thing is we go into finding out what we should be doing. So if we've got the argument here, string argument, check. Now that'll be passed in by the timer. One timer passes in check, one timer passes in angle. That just tells it what it should be executing. First thing we do is when we get a check and the check timer goes off every 30 seconds, we do best output. So that's the variable, the decimal we defined up there. Math.round. So what this is doing, this is going to round whatever we have inside here to 2 decimal places. That's what this comma here. So I'm going to split this out so you can see it. There we go. So whatever is before that comma is going to be rounded to 2 decimal places. And inside that we've done convert.toDecimal and we pull out solar info 4. That will be a number, but it'll be in the form of characters. It won't be a number. So we're converting it to a decimal and then we're just rounding it down to 2 because everything we get out of the solar panel is always rounded to 2. And I wanted to be able to do percentages and things like that without it being too funky. Okay, so once we pulled that out, we say, okay, if this best output, this thing we defined up here, is less than, I've just made sure it's a decimal, 115. Okay, so if it's less than that, which means we're not getting, it's not within the area of power we want to be getting. Okay, base reversed equals false, arm reversed equals false, best base achieved equals false, best arm achieved equals false, and reverse pulls equals false. These are all things that are going to be used later on. And we're just setting them up to, just kind of resetting them for what's going to happen later on. The next thing we do is, this is something that hasn't been included yet, which is we're going to turn the middle rotor on. We're going to start it turning before anything happens. So we take rotor base, which is what we defined up here, rotor base, get action with name, on off underscore on. Once again, this may be a convoluted way to do it. It's the way I was doing it. This is turn it on. So if you had on off, would just be toggle it on or off. On off underscore on turns it on off underscore off turns it off. And then we apply that to rotor base. And the last thing we do, if we do it, we get another action here. We say angle timer, which we defined up here. Get action with name start. Apply that action we got to angle timer. Now, if that best output wasn't less than or equal to 115, so if it was better than 115, all we do is say check timer, get action with name start, apply it to check timer. And that just means that what will happen is the check time will go through another 30 seconds and then we'll test again whether or not our output is where we need to change the arm movement. Okay, so at this point here, the only way that this angle time has been set off is if we need to move the arms. So that will then pass the argument of angle. So obviously this won't be set off because the argument won't be check, the argument will be angle. Decimal, so we create another decimal, output equals math.round, so same thing we're doing up there, convert to decimals, solar info 4 2. Now you might wonder why we're pulling the same information out, but we're not actually pulling the same information out. Because what we defined up here as best output, which is currently, at that point, that was the best output we had. What we're going to do is, as this goes on, if we find a better output, that'll then become best output. But this now has been moving for 2 seconds because the angle timer goes for 2 seconds every time it goes off. So the decimal output now will be different to angle timer. So we say if best base achieved equals false. So that will only be true once we've got through going further down here. If base reversed equals false, so what's going to happen is we're going to turn one direction. Once we find it's getting no better going that direction, we say base reversed equals true and we reverse it. So at the moment, start off, that would be false, that would be false. Okay. If the output is better than best output, so best output we define further up, we just define this after 2 seconds. Okay, well, best output then becomes output, because that's now our best thing. Angle timer, start that off again, go through the loop. If it's not better, then we want to reverse the arms and go in the other direction, because that must be the direction that's going to be better. So if it's not that, we say, okay, rotor base, get action with name, reverse, apply to rotor base. That's this one here. And then we say base reversed equals true, which means we'll activate all this down here. Angle timer, get action with name, we fire off the timer again. Okay, so at this point we haven't found our best base, but we have reversed it. So, wow, that was interesting. My bad. We have reversed it. So when the angle timer kicks off again, well, we're going to go to this one, the else statement. This is where the reverse pulse boolean comes in. When that is false, what we do is we just basically tick through the timer another time. We just say, okay, if it's false, set it to true, set the timer off again. The reason for that is we're not using angles. We are not, at no point in this code do we actually know what angle the arms are. We're just going purely on timing here. So we've sent it in one direction for 2 seconds. So if we just reversed it and then did a check directly after that, is it would have just moved back to the last position it had been before reversing. Well, we want it to go back 2 positions. So you can think of it as like a clock, second hand, where if it went forwards 1, so say it was on the 12, it went forwards 1, it would be 1 second after 12. Well, actually, if we go back, it just goes back to 12. We actually want it to go back to 1 second before 12, which is what is happening here. Once we've done that, okay, so we've made that true. Now we start testing and we say, okay, is the output getting better than the current output, the current best? Yes, we make the best output is equal to output. We start the timer. If it's not getting better, okay, we turn the rotors off. We set the timer. Actually, these should be up here really for ideally. It works because it's got, you know, the script goes so fast. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put all this up here because that'd be better coding, to be honest. There we go. All right, let's delete that. Okay, so once we've turned it off, we say best base achieved equals true. So we are never going to, until this all sets off from the check again, we're never going to activate this if statement. So we're never going to end up back here. Reverse pulse equals false because we're going to use that again. Arm reversed equals false. Now, even though we did that further up, it's just checking, just to double check. Best output is equal to output. So we just want to make that whatever output we currently have is going to be defined as our best output. And first arm run equals true. Now, this is something that's going to be used later on. Angle timer start it off. So now we set it off. Best base achieved is going to be equal to true. So we're going to go down to this bit. Best arm achieved equals false. So if it's equal to false, then we do everything here. So now we take arm 1 and arm 2 and we turn them on. And we say if first arm run equals true. So we're doing exactly the same thing we did there. We're just giving ourselves a 2-second buffer to go through. We just say, okay, first arm run equals false, run through the timer again. Okay, once we've done that, okay, if arm reversed equals false, so we haven't reversed it yet. If output is better than best output, or best output must be equal to output now. So we make it to output, we run through the timer. While that is the case, it will keep running through the timer. When it doesn't reach that, okay, we reverse both of them. So we go arm1 dot get action with name reverse, apply to arm 1, arm 2, get action with name reverse, apply to arm 2. Arm reversed equals true, angle timer, start it off again. So now, then we're not going to go to here, we'll go to the next bit down. Now we set the reverse pulse to false again. Once again, we want to tick back twice. We want to go back 2 ticks on that timer rather than just 1, just to make sure that we're not going back to where we were and going, okay, but we've gone that way. It's crappy. We come back. Well, it's the same angle, so it's not better. So yeah, we'll just end here. So we actually want to go back 1 to see if the other direction is better. So that's what we do. So, okay, reverse pause equals true. Start the timer again. We go through. We just guarantee we tick back one. I'm using that analogy of the clock far too much. Okay, so, and then we just do the same thing. Is output getting better than best output? Yes. If it is, we make the best output, test again. Once it's not, we turn off the arms and we set the check timer to start. So we don't need the angle timer anymore. We're just going to set off the check timer. And at that point, the check timer will be going for 30 seconds. Once it kicks off, we'll see if we need to change anything. So that's the way this code works. I hope I haven't been too quick with that. I hope you're able to follow through. Please do go back and pause if you haven't. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through. Yes, we'll remember the changes. Okay, now there's a couple of things that really do need to be understood. So firstly, we've got this check timer here. This will pass an argument. So if I do setup actions, just to show you, if I were to do this, when you do run, this is how you put in the argument. So the argument there would be check. So there you go, as you can see. So let's remove that and we'll put it back here. So we put it on here, we want it to run, and we want to pass the information of check. So this is the one, this is how often you're going to check what's going on. I've got it for 30 seconds, you might want it for longer. The angle timer, I would say you don't really want as low as 1. It does seem to be a little bit of a clash at 1, but from 2 onwards you can do it. 2 seems to be the best one that I've, well, it seems to be the best thing for finding the best angle. Now, another thing here is the rotors. Once, the main rotor really doesn't matter. You don't want the angle too fast though, because the faster the angle, obviously the quicker you're going to go around, so the less accurate it's going to be. There is something very important you do need to do, which is to make sure you turn this braking torque up to the maximum. Because what you're not doing here is you're not turning off the velocity, you're turning the block on and off. And the way the braking torque works is when you turn as you can see here, braking strength of the rotor, how fast it will stop, applied when the rotor is turned off. Because we're just turning the block on and off, you don't really, you want that on there just to make sure the block actually does stop. Now, the last thing you need to really be careful with is you need to make sure that the arms are inverted from each other. Because the arms are at either end and they're going to be rotated 180 degrees from each other, clockwise for one arm. So to turn clockwise with one arm, to make the solar panels turn the same way on the other arm, they need to be reversed. So arm 1, as you can see, has got a velocity of -30. Arm 2 has got a velocity of 30 or 0.30, and the other one is -0.30. The way you can do that is if you just set a speed. You know, once you do this, you can only set them at certain things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set that to 0, and we'll go back here, and what can we set this to? -30. There we go. And then you would reverse it, and that would give you the positive or the negative. And so we've got a positive on that one and a negative on that one. So you just have to always have them inverted from each other. And that is the basics of it. I'm just going to show you one more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set off this check timer, and we'll trigger this now. So as you can see here, it's moving one direction. So obviously, okay, this direction must be getting better with the output we're getting. And then once it gets to the point where that output isn't getting better, it will reverse, and then it will realise, okay, actually it's not getting better in that direction either, stop. Now, it will be, that means that it's not perfect, but it's very good approximation. As you see, it turned one way, okay, that wasn't getting any better. Turn the other way, and it should stop when that shadow sort of disappears, which is what those blocks are there, just to make sure it's actually doing it in the right place. As you see, it'll just go past the shadows slightly on the other side, then it stops. Okay, guys, so if anyone wanted to do solar panels that are automated, that would give you a way to do it. Like I said, that's not a hugely detailed thing. I didn't want to make this video too long and waffling. I know I have a tendency to do that. So I hope that maybe someone who understands how to do the coding that gives them the tools to do it, or maybe, you know, gives them an idea how to do it. If you want to learn how to do it and you don't know the coding, I am going to do a tutorial on this, but I'll do that in creative mode. The other side of this that's really, really cool to me personally is that if you have your oxygen farms set up with your solar panels, then obviously they're going to have if you have the faces set so that they are aligned with the solar panels, this does your oxygen farms as well. So you can have this going and it will do your oxygen farms and your solar panels all together. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had fun. Please do leave me a comment if you can think of a better way to do it. I certainly would like to know, because I tore my hair out a little bit with this one. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Give me comments, feedback. Have fun. Catch you soon. Do awesome stuff.